Welcome to Freeform Radio on the Freeform Network. You can follow us at Facebook at Freeform Network, on Twitter at FFR Podcast. Keep sending those questions and suggestions and comments, critiques, hater, whatever, at ffnquestions@gmail.com. Again, Freeform Radio guys, we're back and at 'em, and we have Daniel.
Yes, sir. Back over here with some swampy balls.
Swampy balls. Oh yeah, we're in a heat wave thing. So, and then, hey Noel, you there?
I think that alligator got him from
that Puerto Rican
Park.
Alligator got him. So I think he went hunting for him, or he assisted. But we'll see what happens, guys. And it's me, Andy, here. I don't have swampy balls because I'm in air conditioning.
Nice.
But the drive to the house kind of sucked. But here we are, ready to talk to you guys again. Again with the conversations that we have here with the intriguing our massive fans out there. So we're here, and we're gonna go at them. And Danny, this is a fucking hard transition here, but I know you're a busy man. But I do notice we talk about it a lot. I'm starting to think you're like me. You're frustrated by people, or maybe not. Maybe you're one of those people who are doing live video calls at the store, and I have a feeling you kind of like it.
No. That's probably the opposite of me. But I guess just to go back a little bit, I know you mentioned to excite the audience out there. I had a member tell me, or one of our listeners tell me, that all the wrestling talk was not up to his par, that he doesn't really care for a whole episode of wrestling. But I did hear on another few other listeners that were happy with our episode. So it's kind of weird that this one guy didn't really care for it. Either he wasn't an Andre the Giant fan, or he didn't like documentary talk. I'm not really sure.
Well, if I remember correctly, we discussed it in last time's episode. The documentary we talked about, the Under the Giant Head, was like a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes. Even if that was manipulated, that's pretty fucking high. I mean, so overall, mainstream-wise, yes, it is wrestling, but you gotta look at it outside of the scope. Look at him as an anomaly, or just as a person. I mean, you gotta get the human side of this giant of a man. So
right.
But I like not everybody's forte is in sports. You know, we hear it all the time. You know, I really didn't get no feedback on the whale documentary we got, even though I found that interesting.
Yeah, me too.
You know, how people just generally shit, or you know, they're overprotective of animals. So I really didn't get feedback anyway after some of the comments I said. But if anything, I think I got more shit from you guys than anybody else. So
right,
again, send the questions. Let us know, man. We're not. I'm not saying I'm open-minded, but I'm willing to read the bullshit.
Right. I mean, it's something new that we're trying to do just in these recent months. So if there's something about it that you're not really caring for, the listeners out there, we'd love to hear from it about it. And if there are topics that you want us to review, in particular movies, documentaries, or whatever, I think it was kind of fun myself. I know the whale one, I believe I picked that one, and I thought it was super interesting. And then you picked the wrestling one, so we'll see which one Noel picks next for another, maybe a movie or documentary review in a couple of weeks. But I enjoyed it. I thought it kind of mixed things up. So I don't want to take this one listener's opinion too heavily, because I did get some good feedback as far as our episode.
Well, we listen to everybody, but we're telling our fans, we'll listen, but just because you bitch or, you know, give us praise, I mean, we're not going to necessarily stop what we as the trio want to do for the network. I mean, we've discussed in the past maybe have niche shows, whatever we're interested at that time, or any of the subjects. So we are open. Believe me, every topic that we've discussed here, I'm not a fan of, but I'm learning about it, and I'm like, that reaffirms what I thought, or I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. I kind of understand why they do it, but I still disagree with it. But and some of
Right.
it's just for fucking around, and we're just like, it's fucking stupid. Like a guy pissing in a red box, in Frank Europe. Like, that's fucking dumb. I mean, just piss. That's what they do. I mean, what are you gonna do about it? It is something out there that's out of the box, and we're in another country, so nobody. I'm pretty sure a lot of people. I mean, people who travel there might have seen it, but to me, I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
Right, right. I don't worry about it, Andy, man. This guy's a Cubs fan. What the hell kind of Cubs fan? No.
There you go, man.
But
Eloy Jimenez, man. That first game.
But I guess jumping back into it, yeah, Andy, this FaceTime thing, man, it's, I try to be somewhat in a, like Noel would say, Zen world here where things don't really bother me, but I don't get it, man. Now I'm in my 40s now, so maybe I'm just the old man. I don't know. But these people that walk around FaceTiming or live chatting while they're walking around in the store, and it's just like, first, I don't want to see the person that you're talking to, but whatever. I guess that's technology nowadays. You could actually see the face of the person that you're talking to.
It's interactive.
Right. But I don't want to hear it out loud. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Noel Jr., we were going to Jules a couple months ago, and as we're walking in, he gets a phone call from one of his friends from school, because this year we gave Junior a cell phone to keep track of him for his after-school activities. So as we're walking into Jules, he's getting this phone call. So he answers it, and as he answers it, he clicks on speaker. So he's holding this phone out in his hand. I like a good, 8 inches away from his face as he's talking on the speakerphone. And I saw he's doing this, and we're getting a cart, and I had to stop it. I had to nip it in the butt. I'm like, I cannot get this guy getting these bad habits. So I'm like, hey, we're in public. This isn't the place to be on speakerphone. If you want to talk to your friend, take it off speaker, put it up to your ear, talk to your friend, and we can do our shopping. And so he ended up doing that. And
I think he learned that from his parents. I think you guys do that. I mean, that's where else could he have learned that?
I mean, he does it at the house because he plays like Fortnite and Roblox or whatever with his friends from school. And since his old laptop didn't have a microphone, what he would do is call them, put it on speaker, and then put the phone next to his computer as he's talking to them and playing the game. So I think maybe that's where he picked it up. And I noticed that my parents do it too. So it's kind of weird because they're older. But I think my dad does it because he can't hear too well. And I guess he thinks the speakerphone is louder than the regular phone. So I'm not really sure why he does it. I've never asked him. But I saw it again today. I went to Target to do a quick pickup on some stuff. And while I'm walking, man, I saw like 3 people doing it. 3 different people just walking around the store and, hey, what's going on? And then the people are talking back to him. And I'm just like, man, to me, it's like it's a bad etiquette. It's a bad thing that people are getting used to. And maybe it's just me, being grumpy old man or whatever, but I just don't think it's something that you should be doing. If you want to talk to somebody, just put it up to your ear and talk to this person.
My sister worked in retail for a while, and she was a supervisor. But before that, she worked the register, she worked the floor, and she says it's super fucking common, and that while they're at the register, they're showing off the dress, and like they're talking to their phones, and then the people on the phone are making comments about like whatever the situation that's going on. She says that was some of the rudest shit she's ever seen and like had to deal with, because it was just like you're interrupting everybody around you, and you could hear their conversation, and people were like, very they were, just fucking rude, dude, and the people all around them were listening to the conversation. So again, it was, I don't know, at what point does that? I mean, I think that's the new norm if we really think
Right.
about it.
I think that's the problem, is that it's becoming more normalized, that unfortunately I think it's just going to be a growing trend. Now, from your example, if they're at the register, then that is not the time to even be on your phone, period. But I do see a function for it. I mean, if you're shopping and you want to show somebody a dress, then yeah, by all means, go on to live video or whatever. Show them the dress, show them the chair you want to buy. I used it too once when Junior was sick, when he was like 3 years old or something. And Alana's just like, yeah, go to the store, pick up this, that, and the other. And as I went, I couldn't find exactly what she had said, and I wrote it down and everything. So I turned on the FaceTime, I talked to her, and I'm like, is it this one, or is it this one, or should I get this one? And I was showing her the over-the-counter meds that they were selling. So there is a time and place for it, but it should not be your way of communicating to another person as you're walking through the store. Very much less at the register. I mean, at that time, now you're wasting the guy behind the register. You're not paying attention. The people behind you waiting now have to wait another second because you're not ready. You don't have your money ready. I just think it's a really bad habit that unfortunately is becoming more and more the norm.
Maybe you should be kept in like civility, or kept in something, and be like, hey, or just smack the phone away from them, like that Tyrone guy who smacks away cigarettes. You should be smacking away people's phones when they're like, have them on speaker or FaceTiming or whatever, video conferencing, and just fucking like, hey man, ain't nobody trying to hear your fucking conversations.
Right.
Maybe man, that's the thing. We could make that shit go viral.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I've done, which kind of embarrasses Alana and Junior, is I will join the conversation somewhat as I'm behind the person. So they'll say something, like, yeah, oh my God, I can't wait to go. And then I'll be behind and I'll just be like, yeah, I can't wait to go either. And on a few occasions they've turned around, but then I turn to Junior and Alana and be like, right, I can't wait to go. And then they get kind of like, like annoyed, like, is this guy messing with me, or is he actually in a conversation with his wife and his son? And then they just keep going on with their business. But that's probably the only thing that I've done to kind of goof on them. But I just think it's a bad habit, and hopefully it does not become the norm. But we'll see, man, with all these new things that these kids nowadays do.
What about like I've had conversations with my family members who are at the drive-through, and they put me on hold, and they're making their orders, and then they try to talk to me at the same time. Is that fucking rude? Or?
Oh yeah. I mean, drive-through etiquette is another one that kind of bugs me at times. I was, raised and beaten into me to be polite. Please, thank you, you're welcome. And anytime I place an order like at McDonald's or whatever, I'm like, thank you. And half the time, dude, or more than half, no response. No, you're welcome. No problem. No, okay, come again. Nothing, dude. I get no response. I just get a bag thrown into my car, and it's just like, and usually under my breath, especially if Junior's in the back, I go, you're welcome. And then Junior gets a little laugh out of it. And every now and then I will re-mention it to him and be like, buddy, when people tell you thank you, it's polite to say you're welcome. I know you're working and it's a shitty job, or maybe you don't care for it. But I'm like, but being polite and having manners, that doesn't cost you anything. If somebody says thank you, you say you're welcome. When somebody gives you something, you say thank you. I'm like, it's just society, man. It's just being polite. I don't get it, man.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I it's more of a trend. You see it with younger people, and like and at stores. It's starting to be more and more of a problem. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the next phase is, or what the next evolution is gonna be
Right.
for this shit.
Yeah, man, no, for sure. But yeah, I guess getting off the little tirade here. Um, I know the last Prime Day experience that I brought up to on the show, I had a kind of shitty experience where some of my packages got canceled and some of them got lost. I got to say, this time, this Prime Day that just passed, man, I had a much more better experience. And actually, the stuff that I bought, I got it in the very next day. So, awesome job by Amazon with their shipping this year. No mistakes, no problems. And I did order quite a few items, so it wasn't like I just ordered one or two. I ordered like 5 different things, and it came in like in 3 different packages, and they all came in without any problems.
Did you, real quick on the Prime Day is a big thing. Did you see them on some workers were gonna strike? I think in Minnesota. Did you read anything about that on Prime Day?
Yeah, I did see that they were gonna, because I guess they want better wages other than the 15, because Amazon pays them the minimum of $15, even though I don't think it's mandated until like another 2 years to get paid 15 or something like that. So I guess they weren't happy with that pay. And from the little bit that I've heard on Amazon and their workers, I do know that they work them hard. They have really strict policies. I mean, Amazon's trying to make it the norm, next day service or even same day service. And where I thought when I first heard about a 2-day service, I thought that was impossible. I'm like, how are they going to get the shit here in 2 days when getting from the East Coast to the West Coast, typically takes, 4 to 5 days. And maybe you could speak on that more, Andy. I know you work a lot with logistics, but when they said first 2 days, I was just like, I don't know how they're going to do that.
Well, basically, what Amazon did is pretty ingenious. So, I mean, I don't want to get too much fucking detail, I know, but overall, they created hubs, and then they don't have like local or like nationwide, like everything ships out of this hub. They have hubs all across the country. They stock. They rely on people to fill those hubs, and then they have workers processing everything. So everything is normally with 1 day. So you know how we have that big hub in they opened a big hub in Wisconsin and Kenosha, I believe. They opened a huge hub here by my house in Elgin. So everything they try to find within like 1 day radius throughout the states to have it at their hub, and then they control a big chunk of the drivers to make those deliveries. As you noticed before, they used a lot of other different carriers like the post office and FedEx. So what they're doing, they're using the post office more to deliver to their hub, and then from there they go and they're controlling it more and more of the handling, and they're reducing a lot of the time.
Right. So I know that they're pushing for, that 1 million items are available for same day or next day delivery. And I have ordered Prime items in the last few months, and they have been coming in like the next day. And I just think that's like wild. But yeah, for Prime Day, I thought for sure, I'm like, well, they're going to probably revert back to 2 days. And I even selected that on my packages, because since I had that issue the last Prime Day where they lost some of my packages, I'm like, I don't want these guys rushing to get me shit the next day. Dude, just take the 2 days, get my shit done right, and ship it to me. So even though next day service was available for a few of the items, I just selected 2 days for everything that I ordered. And all my orders came in the very next day. So I was totally blown away on how quick I got everything.
But overall, this year's Prime Day, you ordered your stuff and you're highly satisfied. It wasn't a debacle like last couple times.
Right. Yeah, this time I ended up ordering some of those Ring cameras because I have the Ring alarm service for my house, but I only bought the door magnet ones and the motion sensors for my house. So I would only get alerts when doors would open and when motion would pass by where I put the motion sensors. But I did not have any cameras in the house. So that was something I bought, I think, a year or two ago. So this year, I finally decided to upgrade the Ring alarm system that I have and get a couple cameras. So I got one on the front door and one on the rear door.
And you're like Scarface, man.
Right, man. I got to have
watching your back because you don't want motherfuckers coming to get you.
Hell yeah, man. But yeah, it's cool, man. I got to admit, with the kind of shitty internet that I have, it's a little spotty at times. It'll start skipping. But it's pretty cool, man. The tech, how you can watch videos on your phone of your front door and your back door. And it's pretty sweet, man. It's a cool setup. It wasn't very difficult. I mean, the worst part of it probably was that it was hot as hell yesterday and I was installing it. Because I finally had a chance to install it, and man, it was hot.
Didn't Amazon offer you a professional installation, man?
They did for like I think it was like $30, but I'm like,
yeah, it's
man,
not bad. What do you think they send some bum?
Yeah, they got to have like local repair guys because you see it more and more now, even with like computer stuff. Like you'll buy a hard drive, and it'll give you the option for professional installation for $15 or something. And it's just like, what is somebody going to come to my house and just like plug it into my USB port and be like, yeah, there you go, guy.
Yeah, you want to first refrag this or
right.
Whatever. It's like, I don't know, man. If they do that, I'm imagining someone's paid for that more than once. So it's got to be a moneymaker.
Right. I mean, they probably contract out these guys. So it's not something that probably costs Amazon anything. It's more like, hey, when we need these services, we need you to be available to go to some guy's house and plug in his, whatever he bought, bought a Xbox controller and he elected to have it installed. So somebody go over there and plug it into his Xbox. But yeah, man, Prime was cool. Bought a few things from my wife. She wanted one of those robot vacuums. And they had one for like $100, so I ended up buying one for her.
Nice.
And then I bought a few things for Junior, some headphones that he's been wanting. So, yeah, man, it was pretty cool. Didn't go too crazy. Last year I ended up, spending like $300 or something. But with half my orders being canceled, I didn't get everything that I wanted.
Damn you, Bezos.
Right. But this year, I took it a little more easier, other than the camera and the vacuum, those were probably the only big items that I ended up buying.
Now you get to see those porch thieves or whatever the hell they call them, and they roll up there and they're going to come out guns blazing and shit.
Right. Yeah, it was funny. I actually got a chance to use the speaker thing today. Mm-hmm. I was at work today, and I was dropping a deuce. And as I'm in the bathroom, I'm just kind of surfing my phone, and all of a sudden I got an alert saying somebody's at your front door. So I opened up the camera app, and it was my wife and my son coming home. So they were, my son had hit the doorbell just to, kind of hear it since it's something new. And,
mm-hmm.
Anytime kids have something new, you got to play with it. So my wife's, rattling her keys, trying to open the door. And I turned on the speaker, and I'm like, hey, who is this? And then my son just started laughing. He's just like, Daddy, is that you? And my wife's like, are you home? And I'm like, no, I'm at work. And he's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, what are you doing outside?
So it was just cool. It's a pretty cool tech. Probably the only downfall that I have is I got to maybe upgrade my internet, which I've heard a couple complaints about the podcast and the internet. So maybe it's speaking to me. Maybe it's time for me to upgrade finally.
It maybe, man, because nothing beats the fast internet.
Right. Internet does matter in life, and it's more important now in today's society. It's like a thing that you just have to have. But wondering, Andy, is the San Diego Comic-Con, is that still something that's needed, and that's still something that matters in your life?
Well, I mean, at one time it was like, I mean, it's still a big event, and it has grown. It created a whole industry. There's a whole other bunch of shows. I mean, I don't know if you know, Danny. There's the convention, and now there's like shows within the radius of the convention that are going on at the same time.
Right.
Like,
They probably
that's
try to
how.
save money
Yeah,
on
but
floor
it's not
space.
affiliated with the Comic Con. It's
Right.
just shit that people are doing on the side, and I was reading that they were gonna try to clamp down on that, but it's still pretty. I mean, there's still a lot of shit like that going on.
Right. Because even
So
to be on the Comic Con convention floor, you have to pay some money. So I imagine these people are like, well, instead of paying them, let's go to the convention hall a few blocks down the road and we could get it for half the price.
again, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I was really close, maybe 10, 12 years ago, to going, but I kind of backed out after I crunched numbers, and I'm like, it's gonna be kind of expensive. And then I was like, I'm gonna buy all this shit. How am I gonna get it all back home? So it was really widespread, and I was widespread, like I was gonna do spending. So I was like, eh. But going on, for a while, it was like it peaked like crazy, and now it's just like this year more than ever. I read about how a lot of the movie studios came in, they bought up all this shit. People were getting bumped, and the movie studios ain't going, and like all the major movie studios opted out. And I was reading about how it's not as mainstream as it used to be, and because everybody was like today, it starts tomorrow, this year's, and you're already seeing stuff on Twitter and Facebook about on how they're dropping like all these movie trailers. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been keeping an eye on The Witcher.
yeah,
Was a video game that I played last year or the year before when it came out. And I know that Netflix did like a 10 or 8 episode run or something like that. So I'm kind of curious to see, and supposedly they're going to release a trailer tomorrow or some day in the future, these next couple of days after the Comic-Con convention, because I guess they're going to have some kind of like guest speakers or something like that.
yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. Like the speakers, like for a couple years, some like speakers that were out there all the time got bumped, or they didn't like go over here. They moved them to smaller venues, and then you started reading about how they were gonna move to a different place because San Diego couldn't handle it. They're gonna go to like Anaheim or LA, and they struck a deal with San Diego, and it's just like, and like the whole show, the whole thing was to people for comic book people, and then it turned into like this media thing, like mass media, like movies and podcasts and comic books and like artists and like all this shit, like, and it kind of lost focus, I feel. But I mean, that's what it is now. And people this year, I noticed, like I said earlier, the studios backed out. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe they'll focus. Maybe, I don't want to say it'll get smaller, but obviously it's still massive. There's still shit around there. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna ever. At one time, it was one of my like things, but on my bucket list to do. And I've been to San Diego. San Diego is beautiful. But I don't know if I would go to the con, because me, how I am now, just get there and just. I mean, we've been to conventions, Dan. There's that funk in the air of
Right.
our fucking fellow nerds that just don't fucking shower, and they're consistently sweating because they don't walk that much. And it's just too massive for me now. I don't think I'll do well with that mass of people there.
Right. Do you think Virgil is there with a table selling his gimmicks?
He's not gonna be at the con, but he's gonna be maybe on one of the non-sanctioned events.
All right.
So he's out there, like, dude. Yeah, they have like a fucking carnival. I was like reading this last year, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, yeah, it's San Diego Comic Con weekend or week. And like, but this isn't in the Comic Con. It's like they're in a parking lot, like in a park, a couple blocks down. Like, what the fuck is this? I think it was Chris Gore was talking about that, and I was just like, this is fucking strange. It's like WrestleMania weekend. You know, there's like all these shows around the venue, and like it's just like all these fucking promotions, and they're just trying to get attention because all these fans, all these wrestling fans, are gonna be there. And at that point, the Comic Con, I feel is like at the same place a couple years ago because all these people go. The comic book movies were the shit, and people were just like the studios were just trying like we got to get in on this. And now they're just like, we're not. That's not cool. We're not interested no more. You know.
Well, I think it's like everything, man. It gets so huge. It was like a niche thing. They saw the popularity, and it just exploded, and it got huge. And now it's getting too expensive. Now they're probably gouging these vendors and these movie studios, and they're like, we're tired of it, man. So we're looking for alternatives. We're trying to downplay San Diego Comic-Con and trying to broadcast other ones. And you know that happens in all industries. Look at even the Chicago Wizard convention that they had here, and then it sprung up another convention, the E2 or C2E2. So stuff like that happens all the time.
Because when we were it was Wizard World, you know, the Wizard magazine. They went under. They changed it to Chicago Comic Con.
Right.
And you remember, like one year it was like, you know, it was all about comics, and then one year, boom, there's like all these celebrities there, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, how does this work? Like, you know, you just walk up and get an autograph. And then it just evolved from there. And I know they were struggling, and then there was price increases. And one of the reasons C2E2 came about, it was like very affordable. It was still like $20 when they came around.
Right.
And they were offering all these alternatives. And now that thing is massive, and it's fucking expensive too now. And they got all those people that were going there. They go to this other one, and now when you look at the tickets, they sell out quickly, and they're fucking expensive. They're just as bad as the Chicago Comic Con.
Right. They became what they ended up competing against.
Right.
And like, I mean, I know you're talking about the comic convention, but even E3, the video game convention this year, they had a similar issue where in years past it just kept growing and growing, and before it was just industry people that were invited, and then there was tickets that they sold to like a select amount of people. But in recent years, they opened it up to the public, and now it's like massive. So I think it was like 2 years ago, Nintendo finally decided that they weren't going to be a part of it anymore, and they were just going to do like a over the internet convention. So they lowered their footprint at the show, and then this year, Sony did the same thing. They did an over the internet kind of little show, and their footprint at E3 was considerably smaller. So you see this more and more, and I kind of read a little bit about it, and they said that they were gouging them for pricing. They had to use like union workers. They had to do this and that. So it was just becoming way too expensive for these studios to pay for.
That's why, like, I believe, don't quote me on this, internet, if I get it wrong, let me know. But I think Marvel pulled out last year and this year. They're not even going to be there, and it's a fucking comic book convention. If I remember correctly, I don't have my phone in front of me, but I know 1 year or Marvel pulled out of that, and I was just like, or we went to one of the Chicago conventions, and like Marvel and DC weren't there. It was like fucking strange.
Right.
But you know, I love conventions. I still do. I mean, but when it's that massive, it kind of like, and I just feel like it's too big. It's expensive, and everything around it is expensive. Parking, getting in, and then you don't enjoy it as personally as you would, because like you're rushed, you know. But you know, let us know what you guys think. Hit us up, or anybody that went to San Diego Comic Con. Maybe we could talk to you one time, because it's interesting. I don't know who. I don't really know anybody that still goes. I used to be in groups and people would talk about going, and I don't even see that no more, because I think it's just they sell out so much in advance. It's just harder and harder to get there.
And I think back in the late '90s, early 2000s, Andy, San Diego Comic Con was really one of the only ones that was up, and now they branched off and have PAX East, and then they have all these other shows that kind of fill that need that other people would
from
travel. They would travel all the way to San Diego to go see this experience. So that might be a little bit of the problem too.
So let us know, guys. Speaking of experience, I don't know how many people know, for all you lovers out there who want to get some action with your significant partner. There's this nice park in Chicagoland. It's called the International Sculpture Park. I don't know if you ever been there, Danny.
No, and to be honest, until you mentioned it a few days ago, I've never even heard about it. Where is this located?
So it's in Schaumburg, and it's a park. I went last weekend with my wife because we just wanted to get out of the house. It was a nice day. I'm like, I don't want to stay here and watch Unsolved Mysteries all day, even though as much as I love Robert Stack.
That sounds like an awesome day.
It was awesome weekends for a while, but I'm like, it's fucking sunny. We came out of this polar vortex alive. Like, let's just fucking go to a park. So we went, and I've been to there a couple times, and let's just say I've gotten lucky with the ladies. So when you get there, it's a park that they have a big pond in the middle, but no alligator. They have this beautiful water fountain. And so when you walk throughout the park, there's art sculptures. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. You don't see that too much, and they don't got like just fucking statues of some, old white guy that kicked ass 100 years ago. It's like sculptures of like ladies and like interactive sculptures, and they're all within the park. And you got little things that you can read about them, and it's fucking pretty relaxing, man. I highly recommend it.
So I'm assuming it's an outdoor park?
Yeah, it's an outdoor park. It ain't like no fucking Great America or Six Flags or any of that shit. It's like a place where you go have a quiet picnic, take your kid, they can run around, and it's pretty enjoyable. I feel like it's kind of hidden now. People don't know about it. So, yeah, man, I highly recommend it. I don't know if you haven't been there. I mean, if you take like a picnic and like some sandwiches, you could just hang out there all afternoon and you could just chill, man.
So other than the sculptures, is there other stuff there? Is there like food courts and
no? It's like it's a park. It's just a straight up park.
So you don't even have to pay to go in. It's just like it's like the Fulroy Park over here with the swings and shit.
Yeah, but they don't have swings. They have art.
Okay. I thought this was like what do they call that shit with all the flowers and shit? The arboretum? No, yeah,
it's not that.
I thought it was like that. Oh, okay.
They have like a museum or like some building there, but it was Sunday. It was closed, so we just went there to just to hang out, to enjoy the day, just talk to each other and check out some of the stuff. But we've been there before, so like I said, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful park. It's you can learn, or you can just go take a blanket, take a picnic basket, and just chill out, because it's not crazy. Like there ain't like 100 people fucking there just laying down. It's pretty laid back, and it's secluded to a bit, and it's pretty nice.
Oh, sweet, man! You're talking my game. Free, man. That's
it's
right
free.
on my
It's
right on my alley.
On a budget, it's free. So like that's why I said we took some drinks and we just hanged out there. We just needed to get it out of the house, so it was it made the afternoon enjoyable.
Damn, some drinks like some Cavassier, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, you could actually bring a brown bag in there, and there's like no forest preserve police or anything like that unless someone calls. And I think you could enjoy that. You could get a little risque, if you know what I mean.
All right.
If you use that blanket the right way.
It might not look appropriate in the summertime. It's like 100 degrees, and you got this big ass San Marcos blanket on top of you guys.
Hey man, this ain't no peep show. Why you looking at? You just gotta take it easy. But I was telling somebody at work about it, and they're like, "Man, it sounds boring." Like, bro, I got hand jobs there. Come on, man. Let's be realistic here, man. If you try, you can. You just can't. You ain't gonna hit home runs unless you swing at the ball, man. Come on.
Hell yeah.
So, but overall, I highly recommend it for all you lovebirds, and go check it out. It's not. It's a nice park. It's in Schaumburg. Just Google it, just like I said, and you'll get your directions.
Nice.
So another thing, when I'm not in an international sculpture park, I do watch a lot of TV, and one day I'll give you my full review of unsolved mysteries, which are solved and which is not. I'm watching this pretty awesome show on Netflix. It's called Broadchurch. It's a show that aired in England, and it's my kind of show. It's a dramatic show, and obviously I don't think you ever heard of it, right, Danny?
No, is that by the same company that does Benny Hill?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
That'd be awesome if there is a woman in there that looks kind of like Benny Hill. Now that you mentioned it, and she has that English attitude where like they're bitches. But so the premise of the show is it's a dramatic series. So the first season, basically, this kid gets murdered. Or, I'm sorry, not murdered. This kid is found on the bottom of this cliff, like a dune. Because the town of Broadchurch is like a town where people go and take vacations, because they have a beach, they got these dunes and cliffs, and people in town, they live there and working and shit. And so the first episode, they find a dead kid on the bottom of the beach. And then it just goes from there. They're trying to solve who killed it because this church or the communities, they've never had a murder or a suicide. They thought it was a suicide, but it turned out that it wasn't a suicide. So the whole first season is trying to figure out who killed this kid. And usually, first seasons are the best, and the fucking first season was amazing. I highly recommend it.
How many episodes was it?
The Brits do it right. It's 8 episodes. There's no fucking filler. It's just boom, boom. Each episode, they're hitting it hard. And
Wow.
There's a detective that has issues, like he has health issues, and he has his own troubled past. There's another detective that she was supposed to get this promotion, but the other guy took it. And then the families, it's like a small community, so everybody knows everybody. So the town starts turning on itself. They start blaming people. They start blaming people at the church. And then you start finding out that the parents are not perfect. And then the father was having an affair. They keep bugging him. And then in England, they got those CCTVs, those closed circuit televisions. So they're scouring all over the place for footage to see what the hell happened. And then it just keeps they keep peeling back, man, and you're just like, fuck, I think it's this guy, I think it's that guy, and it isn't. And then you're just like, damn, man, I don't know where the fuck they're gonna go with this.
So what would you compare it to? I mean, is it like 24? Is it like fast action?
Dude, this is it's cool, British shows, dramatic shows. They're
so like CSI.
No, it's not CSI. It's very dramatic, dude. It's like characters, and it ain't like American shows where oh, we found this thing. Let's fucking find out what this, and it's nothing like that. It's just the characters are intriguing, and the detective just keeps we gotta think like this, and then the detective, the female detective's oh, those people can't be like that. I've known them my whole life. You can't think of them as your friends. You got to think of them as suspects. And then she's like, I can't believe it. And then he starts telling her, but she still fights him. And at the end, it was so the whole townspeople. There's everybody's a character, and it gets solved, and that's how the season 1 ends. And then season 2 shows up, and I'm like, well, what the fuck they gonna do in season 2? And the killer of the kid, he made a confession, but then now he's like, oh, nah, man, it wasn't me. I was kind of tricked into it,
So season 2 continues with the same group of characters.
Yeah. So I thought once they solved it, I thought that's how the show was gonna end. But now they're taking you through the trial, and there's a side story that's going on. That's why I said it's good, but it's not as good as the first one, and they're trying to solve some other thing while the trial's going on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really care too much for the British shows. Like, I really loved The Office, and then they told me the British Office is just as funny, but I couldn't follow along too well, and I just didn't really care for it. But I know you watched the British version of The Office, and you said that it was just as funny, if not funnier.
Yeah, they're more the dark humor,
Right.
and then they just have a different sense of humor, which I kind of like. It's funny to me. But I like British TV. I've watched many of shows. Like I don't really like the Law and Orders. I only like the original Law and Order. I hate the rest of them. The only Law and Order that I like is Law and Order UK. They have their own Law and Order over there, and that fucking show was done very well.
Ah.
And it's hard to find here, even on the streaming sites. But I highly recommend that show too because it delves into like subjects. I'm not saying like they get the same problems we do as they do there. We have them here, but they just the way they develop stories is a lot different than we do here in the United States, television wise.
Right, man. No, man. I got a short attention span. I need fast action, man. Fast women, fast cars.
Yeah, they like that shit too, but there's a lot of people who like American stuff. But the Brit shows, the dramatic shows, I don't watch too many of them. There's a couple I watch, but the comedic stuff I think is generally funny. But I highly recommend Broadchurch, because the story is very intriguing. So go check it out, guys. Speaking of stories, we got our story coming up here pertaining to churches. So we went from Broadchurch to churches, and we're going to go to our article of the week. So we're here, Danny. We got this interesting article. I think you brought it to our attention, and here we're people of faith here. I don't know about Noel, but maybe he's not with Mother Earth or something. The article for the week is churches are opening their doors to businesses in order to survive. What do you think, Danny? I mean, the article is short and to the point, but what do you think about this?
Well, there's an article to read here about a church in Dallas, Texas, that's incorporating this idea, White Rock United Methodist Church, and there's a few other churches like that. And me myself, the church that I go to, they also do something similar to this. Maybe not as extensive as the video shows. There's a video attached to this article, and they do quite a bit of stuff here at this church. But I think it's healthy. As long as there's some type of like moral ethic gauge. Which kind of is a slippery slope in itself. Who's the one that says yes and no to what businesses and what stuff appears at the church. But the basic gist of the article is that these churches are struggling to keep their doors open. Parishioners are becoming less and less people are going to churches, and they have to open up their doors to small business owners, to other ventures that people need space for, and they're looking for cheap, affordable, studios or classrooms or whatever the case would be. And some of these churches, they have huge footprints that they just don't utilize anymore because the parishioner count's been going down. So, they open it up to yoga classes, to starting businesses that are looking for offices to make phone calls and do whatnot, Monday through Friday, and then the church could get back to business on Sundays or Saturday or Sundays or whatever the church schedules are. So I think it's something good for the church. It gives them a way of creating revenue to keep the church going, to keep the air conditioner going, to keep the lights going. And at the same time, it provides these small businesses a way to, use this space at an affordable price.
I think it's a sad state of affairs for America when local churches have to open businesses because, what does that tell you about America? We all know. I'm not saying I'm some Bible thumper, but we know one of the few times, I think the one time where we really see Jesus get mad is when there's a businesses being done in the temple. So, this is because you see, I don't know, it doesn't really detail if they were open on Sundays, the businesses. I'm assuming not, but I don't know. I get it. Like our local church here, it has a massive footprint. They got the church, they got halls, they got rec rooms, they got buildings, and I'm just like, when I go to church on Sunday morning, I call them the gray hairs. There's barely, there's not a lot of young families there. It's just a lot of older people, but yeah, the regulars, as I call them, and once in a while you see some new people trickle in, but the church is not full, and so I'm like, man, so I got to kick in more. I don't want to say I kick in more into the basket, but I know they got a lot of bills to pay, and these churches, good for them for thinking outside of the box. But sometimes I feel like the local pastor or the priest or the deacon or whatever, maybe they need to do more outreach in the community to get more people through those doors.
It's difficult for churches nowadays. There's, to be quite honest, there's not a lot of churchgoers. There's not a lot of people of faith anymore. And I don't know if that's self-evident with today's society, but regardless of your religious belief, I think it does, as long as it does not morally conflict with the church's beliefs. I think it's a good way to keep the church going and keep the doors open for the parishioners that are there, and give them an opportunity to continue to worship, and keep the doors open, keep the air conditioner fresh and clean and fixed. It's tough, man. It's the only kind of issue that I thought, and I didn't think about the story of Jesus in the temple until you mentioned that, Andy. But the only other thought that I had that might be negative is that since the Catholic Church in particular have closed books as far as their money and their spending for the most part, it might make it something that can be construed as for them to be misusing the money. So I think with something like this, open books would definitely be a plus for the church and for the parishioners, so they could understand where this revenue is going to, and to make sure that it's going to the church. Otherwise, some of these parishioners might be upset that their church is being used for other things other than worship, and the money's not really going to the church and its repairs and its maintenance, and it's going more to the deacon and going all to the aldermen or the aldermans or whatever they call those senior.
Yeah, the senior, the administration of the church,
right.
Or whatever. But I go to Catholic church. They don't give you a breakdown, but they tell you what their operating cost and what they took in from the parishioners, and there's always a difference. But again, they are. I know every church is different out here. They do offer a lot of services, a lot of it, but there's also a donation that they charge, or not a charge, but that's what the donation that they require. But once in a while, they make for people that are not of means, they'll make some understanding. They'll take some understanding. But perfect example, I think, of this is look at Mancow. This Chicago radio guy who's famous. He's a shock jock, but he's a man of faith, and what's going on at was it Willowbrook with
No, it's
that
the Wheaton.
yeah, I can't think of the name right now, but he chronicled in an article, in an interview he gave to the Daily Herald. I mean, search it, where he talks about he's been harping like, yo, you guys need to follow the money because this is they kept asking him for money, and he's just like, well, I already give you guys money. This is a huge church. You got a bunch of parishioners. Like, what the hell are you doing with the money? And then he found out that the pastor was, you know what? I mean, allegedly he was not doing right with the money. He had houses, and I mean, this is all on record. On the Daily Herald really took a lead in that investigation, and he has houses, and they finally kicked him out. But even Mancow to this day, he still pushes it like that you guys didn't do enough. Like, this is the devil, in disguise in church, taking advantage of people and their money.
Right, right. And the church is in Wheaton, Illinois, and it's called Harvest Bible.
I'm sorry, yeah, Harvest
Chapel.
Bible. Yeah.
Right. And the pastor in question was McDonald. And
Yes.
to be honest, I did go to that church as well on a few occasions. And
The decadence, Danny.
it was different, man. But to be honest, I had mixed emotions about that church. Not to go on to a tangent, but you felt the celebration and the enthusiasm in the air as you went to the church and to worship. So it was very vibrant and very, happy. So it gave you that, that good feeling inside that, you're celebrating church, kind of like when you see in the movies, like the Baptist churches where you see the parishioners really animated and singing and really into the sermon. That's the kind of feeling that you got over here, even though it wasn't a Baptist church, it was a Christian church. But at the same time, that you would feel that when because there's multiple pastors at that church. The main guy was McDonald, but they had these sub-helper pastors that would fill in, and they would sound, fine. I would hear their sermons, and it sounded fine. Very uplifting and everything. But the two times that I heard McDonald do a sermon, I kind of left with like a sour taste in my mouth. It didn't sound right to me, and it didn't feel like, and not to say that, I read this a mile away, the issues that the church is having now currently, because this was a couple of years ago that I went to the church, but it just didn't feel right, man. McDonald's message seemed kind of off to me, and it didn't seem correct. And even when Alana would mention it, because Alana kind of dug the church as well, because like I mentioned, it's really uplifting. It gives you a really good feeling to see the enthusiasm in the congregation. But I would mention to her, well, what did you think about how he said this and that? And he mentioned this verse means this and this meant the other. And I would explain to her, I'm like, I don't feel that that's correct. I'm like, I don't think that's right. That's not the way I feel or interpret the Bible. But who am I? I'm just some dummy. So maybe this guy knows more. But it just kind of left me that. It just kind of left me that, feeling like, either I don't know, which I probably don't know the Bible, as well as.
No, you know it pretty
people.
well, Danny.
But it just didn't leave a good feeling in my gut. So we continued going for a little bit, and then we stopped going. It was a pretty lengthy drive for us to go to Wheaton for church. But yeah, once all this stuff broke out, I mean, as soon as I saw my wife, she was just like, holy shit, can you believe it? And I'm just like, yeah. I'm like, I don't want to say that, I kind of saw McDonald in this bad light, but I'm like, maybe this explains some of it. I don't know. I'm like, maybe it explains that feeling that I had.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how we grew up. We grew up Catholics. You're always gonna have, the plate passed around to give money to the church. But I mean, a lot of churches offer some services, and great service, especially around the holidays, Easter and Christmas. I know our church does a lot, and they have programs to help people, but I mean that comes with a price, and you can only volunteer so much. Eventually, I mean, you're gonna need money. But real quick on the article, one of the parishioner goes, they have a yoga class, and she goes, I attended the yoga class, and I remember one day that we got the giggles because we were just enjoying it so much, and we thought, well, this is the way church should be. We should be able to have other aspects of our lives here. So again, I mean, that's an interesting quote to me. When I go to church, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna worship God, and that's my main goal. I want His blessings, and I ask for Him to give blessings to other people that I know, and I'm not like thinking like, yeah, man, after this, I'm gonna go over here and over there. Even though they do push at my church, they do have like a breakfast that they push after the church every Tuesday. I've never been to one, and I heard it's very. I mean, it's obviously to raise money, but I mean, that's like I kind of like to me, and it doesn't leave a sour taste, but I'm just like it doesn't sit well with me, I guess.
Right, right. And I mean, my church also has a lot of
pancake day, the things
yeah,
like that.
they have lawnmower tuner day, tune-up day. But as I've gone to some of their events, they've never stressed for donations or any kind of money to subsidize whatever event they're doing. It you know I do. They also have something similar where they kind of like this lady. They want it to be a community. They want it to be where it's a family network, and you do go there for other things other than on Sunday for church. That you go there early in the morning for Bible study, and then you go on Thursdays for the additional Bible study that they offer, and then you go on Saturdays because they're having a community reach out event. And so they're constantly having things like that. And the church that I go to is a little more smaller than the one you go to, Andy. So you get that feeling of a really close knit community and family of people, and it generally feels like they care for you and they have love for you, even though other than you going to church together, they're perfect strangers. You don't know them that well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, thing about it is this. So, let's say your local church, they do have some businesses. They have like a workout room, or like a little gym, or like the yoga thing, and you go out of obligation to the church. You're like, well, let me check it out, man. Because I want to help them out. I'm a good parishioner. I mean, I already tithe, or I give them weekly in the giving plate. And you go there and you're just like, yeah, man, this kind of sucks. And then people come up to you and like, oh man, didn't you love it? You got to come every day. You should sign up, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, man, you're going to feel guilty. I feel like not going to guilt you, but they're going to be like, well, what happened? How come you didn't come back? Like, what, what's going on? You don't want to badmouth it. You understand what they're trying to do. And to me, that also puts you like in an awkward place.
Right. I could understand that for sure. You want to try to be friendly, helpful, and try to give your all to everybody and to help everybody out as best you can. So I understand that, but I would like to think that, especially the church I go to, I've gone, dude, in jean shorts and a t-shirt, because sometimes I would get out late from whatever I was at, and I didn't get a chance to change. And I've gone to church, and I've never felt like, you're in an awkward place, and you're in a place that doesn't appreciate that. You need your Sunday best. You need to dress like it's a celebration, which I understand that as well. I understand trying to dress appropriately for the event that you're in. You're there to worship, so I understand that as well. But if there were to be somebody that came in and just sandals and a shorts, in that same token, you're not supposed to judge them and and think bad about him. Whatever his situation is, the only thing that your thought should be is how do I welcome this person into our church so that they could receive the message. So, I get it that it might be uncomfortable to not participate or to participate and not feel well about it and not want to do it anymore. But I would like to think that the churchgoers would be understanding if you're like, I'm not really feeling it. I don't want to continue doing this.
That's what I'm saying. Like the welcoming is like a whole different aspect. But going back, like if they do have a business there, and it's not like obviously they're not paying, they're just paying rent, and it's not good. How are you personally gonna feel about it if you're like, I'm not going back, and it's a community and like people know everybody, and this is like, is it gonna be awkward? I feel like, yeah, because it's like I just don't want to go there. I don't like it.
Right. No, it would be uncomfortable to be able to not speak freely or speak honestly on it if it were to be an issue or a problem.
Or you give it a bad Yelp review, what's going to happen, man?
Right. But yeah, like I mentioned, I didn't know too much of the details, but I do know that on occasion when I would go to Thursday Bible study classes at the church, there would be businesses, they were like European, and they would, be running some office stuff in some of the basement, studio areas that they have at the church.
Right.
So, I never was curious enough or nosy enough to find out details about it, but I do know that they were not regular churchgoers, these people. So I was under the impression that the church was offering space to them, and I'm assuming that it was, subsidized with some kind of cost to them, but I'm not really sure. But back to the article to just kind of close it out. I think it's a good thing, but slippery slope, something that could definitely spiral out of control and be a problem if there's no open books, and if the businesses that are opening are against the beliefs of the church.
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I wouldn't really be too comfortable with it, but the churches they got bills to pay too. So again, it's just I don't know if I would use those services. That's I guess what I'm saying. I'm like, I think I wouldn't use it.
Right. Well, it is definitely a polarizing subject, and it kind of caught my eye, so I thought it was something cool to bring up and just kind of talk about really quickly. But unfortunately, Andy, that is it, man. We're out of time for today. We'd like to thank everybody for listening, everybody for tuning in. Keep that feedback coming, man. We love hearing it, like Andy mentioned at the top of the show. Good or bad, we want to develop our podcast here and make it better. And we're definitely listening out there to all of our listeners and people that are tuning in. Send them to ffnquestions@gmail.com. Visit our Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. Visit also our webpage at freeformnetwork.podbean.com. And just give a like and a subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. We really appreciate it, and it does help out our numbers and shows up in our metrics here. But for Freeform Radio, my name is Daniel. I'd like to thank you for listening. And next to me today, Andy.
Polarizing Andy, Dan. That was a big word for a Latino there. I'm proud of you. And I'm hoping I polarize my fans out there and bring them to this great debate.
Yeah. But thank you all for listening. Enjoy your week, and we will talk to you next time.
That was cool, Dad.